in a startup. You tend to think innovatively, come up with a solution. There are setbacks, there are ups and downs. We learn and become stronger. Entrepreneurship journey has made me a better person. Collaboration comes a lot with communication, and the middle management especially have to be really aware because they need to understand different cultures. So a very toned down US communication is equivalent to a very strong communication in India when you understand the culture, right? The middle management is a place where they have to understand the differences and interpret these communication. I would put the transparency and the responsibility or the ownership on the team. These two will take the team to perform at their maximum beyond even what we expect them to perform. Advantage of bootstrapping is maintaining the culture. If VC funding comes in, then you are going to expand no matter what, because you don't want the money to sit idle and you have to expand your business team. If a lot of people are coming into the company, then the culture fizzles out, or it takes time to make sure everybody is aligned to a culture. So you need to have a special effort put towards the culture. Operational excellence can be achieved mainly on processes being set properly, and you have the relevant tools for enabling this process and the metrics to measure and improve on.
Hey everyone, welcome to Beyond Brilliance podcast. I'm your host Jai Gopinathan. With over 20 years spent in tech world, I run data initiatives at a large life sciences organization. Thanks for tuning in. This show is about hanging out with the coolest minds in tech, data, and AI. The folks who are really shaking things up and figuring out how we blend human creativity with all the amazing tech that's coming our way. Today, we've got someone pretty incredible joining us, a tech veteran who's got almost 25 years of journey to share with us. So she started out as a software engineer, climbed the leadership ladder, scaled multiple companies, raised a cool $50 million, and built teams across United States, India, and Mexico. Oh, somewhere along the line, she also created Chennai Moms, a massive online community for parents in India. So right now, she's killing it as a chief operating officer at a fast growing AI company. Trust me, her take on leadership, fundraising, navigating tech, something you'll want to really, really hear. So we're going to dive into all that good stuff, building great teams, raising capital, managing people across different countries, different cultures, balance between moving fast and keeping high quality in startups. So let's jump right in. Bhavani, we are super excited to have you on the show. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Jay, for having me on your podcast. Looking forward to our discussion.
So, Bhavani, you've had this remarkable journey, like spanning over almost 25 years now. So, let's rewind a little bit. Let's walk through that journey of yours. So, from starting out as a software engineer to becoming a chief operating officer and an entrepreneur, that's a fascinating journey. So, if you can summarize really quickly some of the pivotal moments that shaped your career, that'll be great for our listeners.
Sure. I started off my career as software engineer in multinational companies. During my journey as a software engineer, I had a chance to visit different countries and had a chance to live in Silicon Valley for a few years. It was an incredible journey, the ladder to a developer, to a project leader and a manager. And then I had to come back to India, especially to the city Chennai, because of my family situations, and I had kids at that time. It was a phase in my life where I was looking for friends who had kids, my kids' age group. It was very difficult because the people who I studied with, they were geographically distributed and they were in different phases of their life. Few were married, few were not, few had kids older than mine, and the neighbors and extended family were also not there in the same group as mine or the phase of my life. And I had a lot of questions coming back from the US to India. It was like I was a fish out of water and I was looking for information like play dates for my kids and good pediatrician around my area. Where can I find good school for my kids? So that is when I developed Chennai Moms and I launched it, and it became a big hit that I grew it to 1 million viewers pan India, and I have made lifelong friends on Chennai Moms, whom I still am in touch with. Our kids grew together, and now I'm soon going to be an empty nester. So I have seen my friends' kids grow from that time onwards. So it has been an incredible journey and my first step into the entrepreneurship and startup. So that is one of the pivotal moments I would say in my life that I changed from being an engineer into an entrepreneur. As I was saying, I was in Silicon Valley and I had a chance to look at the pace, the lightning fast in which the Silicon Valley startups execute compared to the enterprises where I have been employed and I was also developing in parallel. So that made me look for provisioning this fastness to the enterprises on latest technologies that is out there. So I started Ideas to IT with a co-founder and we started off as bringing ideas to IT with latest technologies. And it is a niche product engineering firm that we built, and it offers boutique services for the enterprises. I was running Ideas to IT for about 10 years, and I built the company from scratch to 500, 600 people. And then I moved on to Element 5, where I am working as a COO now. Element 5 is a agentic AI platform for post-acute healthcare, which is a niche healthcare vertical. We handle the automations of the back-end processes of this industry. Element 5 is also an incredible journey for me. We raised funds and we raised 50 million, and I have set up the team in India, Mexico, and US, combined together 200 plus team members. Out of the top providers in the home health and hospice, we have top 9 providers as our customers. So that has been my journey, and every company that I have been with, from my software engineering till now, I have learned something, and that has shaped my life to where I am standing now.
Yeah, that's actually a very wild ride. If I could summarize that, from Silicon Valley to moving back to India, starting a network-based company, then again pivoting to a service-based company, and then again pivoting to another AI-based company. So it's a fascinating and a wild ride that you had. So one thing I'm also noticing or picking up from your career is that you seem to focus on those niche areas or like boutique offerings, whether it's Chennai Moms or whether it's Element 5. What's up with that pattern? Is it by design or is it by accident or is it very intentional in nature?
I don't know if it is by design, but it came along the way. And I also believe, maybe after setting up these companies, I also believe going narrow or deeper than broader is better in terms of bringing up the right solution for the problem, because there is no one solution that can solve all problems. And this doesn't mean that going broader is bad, just that it's not my forte. I tend to go narrower and deeper to provide the right solution for my customers.
Makes total sense. Go deeper, not wider, to begin with, and then maybe you can branch out to adjacencies, right? So that's a very smart approach. So I wanted to also talk about your experience, personal experience. You worked in massive Fortune 500 companies, and you've built scrappy startups at the same time. How different are they really, and what have you learned from each of these experiences?
As I have said, as far as I was working on with the enterprises, it has always been a slow, steady pace. Personally, on my career, I would have been in one position if I had continued on the journey. But comparatively, I have reached more top position now, and I have done many things that I would not have done when I had continued as a software engineer. And so personally, being an entrepreneur has given me more opportunities. It has made me learn more because every day is new in entrepreneurship, in a startup. You tend to think innovatively, come up with a solution. There are setbacks, there are ups and downs. We learn and become stronger. So I think personally, entrepreneurship journey has made me a better person, and it made me develop few things, including the confidence. I don't procrastinate, but in a startup, you have to procrastinate on few things because of the environments, right? So these are some of the challenges that I had to overcome. I have to learn and become an entrepreneur or stay as an entrepreneur. So that is one thing. Apart from the basic things like the time of delivery, getting into latest technology is easier in startup than to introduce it into an enterprise. If you're working in an enterprise, there's no risk on your career path as far as you are giving out whatever you have. But irrespective of whatever good you do in a startup, it always is a risk associated. So there are pros and cons. Personally, if you ask me, the startup and the entrepreneur journey has made me learn a lot of stuff and made my journey interesting than I would have enjoyed in the enterprises.
Yeah, I can see that intensity and that joy on your face when you talk about your entrepreneurship journey, and it's very evident. I think you'd actually fare better being an entrepreneur than being a software engineer or a program manager, for that matter. So I also can feel that startup intensity. It feels like you're building a plane and you're riding at the same time. So it's a totally different energy and a different vibe.
In fact, Jay, in one of our offsite, one of our executives, they had actually put a picture of someone repairing the flight when it is flying. So that depicts the everyday journey of an entrepreneur. So you called it out right, and I was able to associate with that picture.
Excellent. So incredible to learn that somebody's thought about it. For the next segment of our episode, I want to talk about building and scaling ventures, which you have done brilliantly. So you've gone from a 0% company to building a 750% company in ideas to IT. What helped you grow ideas to IT to a thriving organization? What are some of the key ingredients that made ideas to IT such a great success?
Sure. Ideas to IT has been the first company that I scaled to that big an organization from nothing. The more people you have, the more you can build, and it's a services business, the more project you can get. So it is proportionate to sales. So the recruitment engine has to work in tandem with sales. When we started Ideas to IT, we didn't have a big founder pedigree in the market, and we couldn't build the brand immediately. So that has been the most challenging thing on Ideas to IT. We have always been conscious and consistent about a few things. The first thing is the culture that we had set, lofty goals and happy journey. And the second thing is we would treat our employees as our partners and value them as family. These are the few things that has been consistent from the beginning. We are able to not only scale, recruit, but also to retain whomever we recruit. From the day they walk into the company as a candidate to attend the interview, they are treated well. And the process of interview in itself was carved out very well, in which every stage of the interview is interesting for the candidate and challenging for the candidate. We have heard many people who say during the journey of the interview itself, I have decided I have to join this company. So our we also treat recruitment as sales. So our sales starts from the time the candidate is sourced by the recruitment team. After they join, they are looking for interesting work. So in Ideas to IT, we have always taken only new projects, not any maintenance or support or any old technology projects. So any project that they are placed in, it's interesting for them and there is a new learning. And the second thing is their career path and what are they contributing towards that and what is the company's goal. So when we are transparent and say that this is what the company is working on, this is what is your contribution to that goal, it becomes very evident that they know what they are working for and they are able to see the results. So that makes them align with company and grow. And finally, after they join, they grow in the career. We give them a lot of freedom and we trust them with it. With freedom comes the responsibility. So they can bring in their ideas to the table. They can debate among themselves and they can execute the idea. Thing that Ideas to IT does as a management is to sponsor them and also to guide them to execute the idea. So this culture of that they are recognized as a citizen of Ideas to IT gives them the courage to bring more ideas. And when we sponsor their execution, it gives them the trust the company is able to back them with. So these are some of the cultural aspects, and also paired with the learning and a career growth. That makes people join Ideas to IT and also be with Ideas to IT the longer we go.
That's great. I think you're touching on some key points here, right? Trust, learning, and those people first policies, like giving that sense of ownership to that individual. They belong, that sense of belonging that you're trying to inculcate in any hire that you have. I think these are testaments for not just building a great company, but also building a very, very strong community. And I hope that's the case with both your organizations. You've lived both the journeys of bootstrapping and VC funding. How different did they feel? Like, how does it look in real life? Does it put a lot of stress on you when you go to raise funds from outside?
Be it bootstrap or VC funding, has to be a conscious decision on how you're going forward with it. Both has pros and cons. I am happy that I was able to experience both the worlds. If I take the first thing, Ideas to IT, which was bootstrapped, it was slow and steady. And every decision was made consciously by us based on our bandwidth, the market situation, and how much are we able to recruit and scale. If you see ideas to IT, the entire journey, it was slow and steady. I was able to pause wherever I have to. I can do a recruitment freeze or like a less sales because I have not made my team ready for the next project. And it was always our decision and we had to figure stuff out. One thing that I really think is an advantage of bootstrapping is maintaining the culture. If VC funding comes in, then you are going to expand no matter what, because you don't want the money to sit idle and you have to expand your business team. If a lot of people are coming into the company, then the culture fizzles out, or it takes time to make sure everybody is aligned to a culture. So you need to have a special effort put towards the culture. But in Ideas to ID, it happened very naturally, where the founders set the culture and the first batch of people who joined, they agreed and they aligned with the culture, and from then on, from the second or third batch onwards, passed it on. So it was like a generation after generation, how we pass on the family traditions. It was the same with Ideas to IT, and it worked seamlessly because of the slowness in which we were expanding also. So that I would say that it was very beneficial for Ideas to IT for bootstrapping, even though there were times where we had setbacks and we couldn't expand as we expected to. Coming to the VC funding on Element 5, funding happened pretty fast, and we rode the wave and we were able to attract the top talents in the industry, and then we built the team down below, right? So not only is the funding helping with the team building, but we were given the credibility. So if a VC has funded our idea, that means there is a credibility already built in. Somebody did the due diligence to fund us. So that credibility automatically attaches to us. And the founder's pedigree grows because it's a funding. So we have that tag now attached to all of us. And the third one is obviously the networking that we are open to, and any mentorship that we need, any help that we need from everything, right? If we do, for instance, if we don't have a CFO in house, we are using a fractional CFO. If we want to recruit a CFO, the first network that we would go back to is our VC, so that they, from their network, they'll be able to help us solve this. So everything from operations to sales to partnership, the way we negotiate, everything can be done through by the VCs, and they have done it multiple times. So they will be able to mentor us to better ourselves. So that comes in naturally, and this is never going to happen in Bootstrap. So this is something that I really saw as a big difference and advantage. Fourth one, obviously, which we have to experiment now, is the merger and acquisition from the VC.
When it comes to bootstrapping, you have the control, and you have the control to expand the team. You have the control to control the culture of the organization. You kind of set the pace, if you will, in a bootstrap organization where there's a lot of freedom. I know there's a lot of difficulties also that comes with that freedom. You don't know whether this is the right size or whether this is the moment that you need to seize. And I also kind of contrast that with what you talked about from a VC standpoint, the credibility that comes along with fundraising. Somebody's already liked your idea, funded your idea, and also is opening up a network of experts that are not only experts in that line of field, but also experts in legal, advice on financial hygiene. So I think there's pros and cons in both, and I feel like I'm kind of drawn towards the VC funding because it's kind of having a team already there waiting to help you so you can grow faster and achieve those lofty goals that you've set up for yourself. It's really, really fascinating to hear from a founder that's gone through both the journey. So one other thing I want to talk about right now is the team performance. Basically, team performances and individuals in an organization break or make a company. So how do you ensure that all your teams are firing on all cylinders, they're all moving in a cohesive manner, and how do you account for that, and how do you build that in your organization today?
When you need a team to perform at their peak with the utmost efficiency, there are a lot of factors that needs to contribute. As I was saying, we treat recruitment as sales. That is the first place where we need to attract the right people, and the interview process has to be clear, concise, and it should make the candidate also enjoy the process of the interview. And we have to validate. The first thing that I would look for in any candidate is their talent. There is a very good book that I had read, First Break All the Rules by Gallup. This book not only talks about how to identify the talent, but also after offer, how do you set their goals and integrate them with your company. So it's a very good book, and I have taken a lot of inputs from that and have actually implemented in my company. In Ideas to ID, I have set up a delivery team. So this means developer, QA, designers, and so on. And in Element 5, it's a product company. So I needed to build a product team and also a support team that I didn't get a chance to build in Ideas to ID. So I have to now approach this, right? They have to be sold to join through this journey. I am at a place where I have to recruit freshers to become an product owners. How do you check if a fresher has a talent or not? And I have to do this in India, where the product owner curriculum is not natural in any of the engineering groups that we have. So how am I to test if this people has a natural flair for product or not? Right, to all the freshers who applied to pick any application, mobile application that they are using, say WhatsApp or Insta or YouTube. So pick any application that they use day in, day out. And then what features would you add to that application that you are missing in that application, and elaborate on that. And now they have to think as a product owner to identify what feature they can add. It is not just a feature, right? You'll be surprised at the answers that people have given. They are thinking of how the users will adopt that feature and how long will it take to implement this feature, and if this feature will be even applicable or used by the community, geographically different communities as well. So I was really surprised to see that. And once they join, it is obviously we have to set their career path. We have to say what they are working on, clear roles, responsibilities, and a career path will definitely make the team grow and stick on to the company. I would put the transparency and the responsibility or the ownership on the team. These two will take the team to perform at their maximum beyond even what we expect them to perform. In 2024, we wanted to migrate from the older platform to a new platform, and we did not expect any new revenue on this because it's an existing customer, it's an existing product. We are just changing the platform, so it's basically a back end change, but the effort is enormous and it's also challenging because the team who have been building the products on this platform has to unlearn the old platform. They have to learn the new platform, and the new platform was built on a different technology, so they have to learn a new technology and then deliver at the same velocity they have been developing over the past 3-4 years. So the team was put under a tremendous pressure because the timeline is also very fixed. So we didn't want to move beyond this timeline because there is no new revenue coming in. We want to migrate it faster and then move on with our business. And the reason why we did this migration is one is a cost, another is a scale. The new platform will help us to scale, and that is the agentic AI based platform that we want to move towards. So the team now understood what all are there in front of them. We have been very transparent from the beginning that this is not new revenue, this is an existing revenue, but cost cutting, and we are scaling. And it's a new platform, agentic AI platform, so the tech is sold. For that, what the team has to do is to unlearn, learn new technologies, perform at the same velocity. And the team went back, they debated, and they arrived at a timeline and then brought up and saying that this timeline is not going to be possible. What can you do? And this is when the management has to work along with the team to understand what problems they came up with. And there were two things that we solved to solve their problem because the timeline is not going to change. So you need to increase the number of resources and then you have to scope it down. We did both. So when we did this, the team understood that the management is supporting them, and they are now in a position to deliver what they have promised. And to our extent, the team did extremely well, and they took the entire ownership and delivered. So we never expected this whole thing to happen so smoothly. We thought there would be hiccups here and there and stuff like that, but the middle management managed it really well, and the upper management executives, founders, we gave all the liberty for them in terms of scoping as well as the resources and also the funding. And the team put in all their efforts, best foot forward in learning new technologies and also delivering at the same velocity, which means they have to work harder. And they did without even us asking them to work harder. There were teams who were sitting day and night, including the weekends, including the holidays. They themselves came up with a shift saying that you work the first 12 hours, we'll work the next 12 hours. So this kind of shift in the collaboration, and they partnered with the onshore team saying that you take care of all this, we'll take care of all this, right? So that there's a round about a clock of work that is being progressed, and the handover, this entire process was done entirely by the team without even asking. So I think being transparent and supporting the team will make them automatically own and deliver as at their peak performance.
Having that clarity and also giving the freedom for your team and being extremely transparent at what your goals are for a particular project unlocks the best performance in everybody in the organization. I think most of the times communicating with complete transparency brings the best in individuals and teams, and invariably that's what I have seen in my personal experience and capacity as well. So that's kudos to you guys for understanding some of the challenges the team was experiencing and also adapting to it in terms of cutting scope and supporting them to your full capacities. Bhavani, you build teams in India, you build teams in the United States, you build teams in Mexico. So how do you make it work across all these different geographies, different people, different cultures, different time zones, and different motivations across the board?
The culture is different in different geography, but we have to set one culture for company and we have to move towards that. This means a lot of communication within the company. This also starts off with where are you recruiting? Whenever I had expanded to a new geography, the first thing is obviously to check on the compliances and statutory things, which is very easy. You just have to find a lawyer and a CPA to expand to any new geography. And the second one is to do a market analysis for identifying if we will have enough people that we are looking for. The supply and demand should match with whatever you demand for. When I wanted to expand to Mexico, I found that we had a lot of tech savvy group that are available who are very as good as our engineers, and they are willing to work extra hard, and they are willing to learn and quickly grasp. And the supply was very good, but the communication became a problem. None of them were very clear in communicating, especially in English. And this became a problem. And we strategized to make sure that we solve both, because I was trying to set up a support team there, and the support comes up with both technical as well as the customer communication. So we split this and made the customer communication to be handled from the US and the tech support to be handled in the Mexico. And with the same time zone we are in, we were able to communicate among our teams to service any customer request or incident. Third thing is obviously the culture. What is the nature of these people? What are they looking for? A software engineer in India, in Mexico, and US all have different expectation of the company. I can easily find a 20, 25-year old, 20, 25 years experienced software engineer who is contributing at an individual capacity in US. But it is very, very rare find in India. There could be people, but they are very rare. Typically, if you see in India, it's like every 3 years a promotion from a software engineer to lead to an architect or a project manager, and so on. So that is in the culture. So if I have to build a company where I am looking for a core individual developer, I should look for them in US, not in India, where my supply is more and not less. So all these three contribute to building the team, and then comes the cross-cultural collaboration. So a lot of things goes into the team building to help you with the cross-cultural setup.
Got it. And that's super smart, right? They are basically tailoring your approach based on the location, based on the supply of talent that you have in place and what their individual strengths are, and trying to not fit like one size fits all strategy. You're trying to personalize based on the location you are playing, and also it helps to have them sit in the same time zone, and it's a near shore strategy that played out well for you. I know you talked about building a culture that is, one culture for the organization. And how do you build that? What are some of the strategies that you've used in your organization to building that one culture which everybody in the organization is able to resonate with and move in that same direction?
Sure. When we say one culture, people are aligned, even though they are in different geographies. But the key thing that we have to solve is the collaboration for that culture. So, few things that we have done from the beginning, especially in Element 5, is we have made the communication channels common for everyone. We use Slack a lot. People can come and post anything that they want to. If someone from US wants to post their Halloween pictures and say what is it all about, that is a platform. And when someone from India posts about their Diwali pictures and then show what is the culture or background story, this has engaged the team a lot. They were interested in learning the other culture, and they always tend to look forward for those pictures around the same time of the year. So that is one thing where we use the communication channels to share their experiences, and slowly people have started respecting for the holidays. Releases were planned around the holidays, not to interfere with both. So this made each other see that the other person is changing something because they are respecting their culture, right? So the pay team in India, they don't disturb during the December holidays. This helps a lot with the collaboration and also to work as a single team. The second thing that we have done is to make people travel. So we have brought in people from India for offsites, for training, for brainstorming. We have taken our executive teams and product team to India, where they had a chance to work with the India team for a few weeks, to sit beside them and work is very different from seeing them for an hour or 30 minutes during the daily calls. So that opened up their eyes, and the team was very surprised to see that the India team was staying beyond the office hours. Obviously, they have to stay because we have a couple of hours in the morning to overlap, and the US team has naturally started taking the calls early on in their morning. So this shift, it comes naturally for the people because they don't want the other person to stay late or this person to wake up early. So this physical presence and working along with the team even for a couple of weeks has helped a lot with this kind of natural alignment of the team without being enforced. So I would say that the collaboration comes a lot with communication, and the middle management especially have to be really aware because they need to understand different cultures and make sure that they are able to interpret some of the language. So a very toned down US communication is equivalent to a very strong communication in there when you understand the culture, right? The middle management have to understand the differences and interpret these communication to say that they meant this to the team, and what the team means to the upper management. So they have to manage both up and down well. So they play a very critical part in doing this collaboration.
There's an environment where there is cross pollination, if you will. People are traveling, people are experiencing each other's culture, people are appreciating each other's observations in terms of holidays, like Thanksgiving in the United States, Diwali in India, and not planning for big releases during holidays, respecting each other's time differences, and increasingly being so forgiving. And that kind of builds that sense of belonging in the organization. And I really appreciate that you talked about it. And what about food? Like, do people, bond over food? And I'm very curious.
So food is very important for the team. I would say that biryani has become the favorite food for our US team after we did this cross pollination. Yeah, so we do go take our team to a lot of Indian restaurants, and they enjoy the food. Yeah, biryani is our favorite food now, global favorite food.
Food is obviously a cultural connector. It's good vibes and great communication paired with amazing food is always a recipe for great actions to follow. So talking about great actions, operational excellence is the next segment we move on to. How do you keep the wheels on when everything is moving at lightning speed in a high growth environment like yours? How do you strive for that operational excellence?
Operational excellence can be achieved mainly on processes being set properly, and you have the relevant tools for enabling this process and the metrics to measure and improve on. I would divide this into these three buckets. First, to set the process, you have to really know what you're working on, and I have come to believe that even a simple task, a short-lived project, should also follow some process. Otherwise, it is going to end up in chaos. Process streamlines most of the stuff, and the even the collaboration and communication that also should be brought into the process. If you take the support process, right? Typical ITIL support process will be like incidents come, problems go here, the CRs go there. But how is this communicated within the team and how is this communicated with the customer? This has to be clearly nailed down to make sure that the customer is also happy and the internal team is also aware of what is happening in the support world. So every small process needs to be documented. Unless we go back and read the documentation to course correct it, there are few steps unnecessarily that could be there which falls naturally, so we can go back and change the process also. So documenting that helps us to go back, iterate and improve on. And so that these are the two things that I would really do on the process. Go for process even for a small a scope, and document it so that we can go back and correct it. Tools play an important role. We have to have tools everywhere. In Element 5, we even have a tool for security compliance. We have a tool for learning and development. The learning and development tool that we have in place has helped me a lot in terms of tracking if all my resources were trained on the new technology that I spoke about when we migrated from older platform to new platform. Training the entire team of 150 plus into a new technology is difficult, and tracking is even more difficult. And this has to be done according to the delivery timeline. So unless you have a tool to map to the process or the project, this training is a project, a mini project. So unless you have a tool, it is going to be difficult to track the process and also to find out where the process is breaking. The has to be aligned, and if something breaks, the tools have to notify you that something broke or something got dropped. So that is very important. And the third one, this is the industry standard. You need to have metrics. You have to measure it first to set your standard. We have a team that does only client onboarding, another team that builds the product. So the metric of, say, velocity or the burn down chart that we are looking at is very different from this onboarding team to that of product building team. So you need to know what metrics to measure for which team and what is the threshold of these metrics for each of the team, and then improve from then onwards. And you need to have the retrospection, root cause, and all those ceremonies that typically being followed in the project management, whichever management methodology that you follow. And this retrospection has to go back and become action items to be implemented. So these all contribute to the operational excellence. It boils down to process, tools, and metrics.
I always visioned startups as people running on fire all the time, and I'm pleasantly surprised that you have a different take on it.
Some VC funding also, Jay, for this.
Okay, I can now understand the pressure from where this is all stemming from, right? So it's excellent that you need to have a process that's well defined, well documented, and well communicated throughout the organization for it to be adopted in the manner you envision it to. And you talked about having tools around these processes, that way they notify you whether this process is working or not. And also you're defining smart metrics around this process, and the tool is tracking those metrics for you to tell you whether this process is working or breaking within your environment. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is the operating framework. I've seen a million methodologies out there, and what kind of operating framework do you prescribe within your organization, especially in Element 5, which is a high growth environment? It's a product company, and you are operating in 3 different geographies, 3 different time zones. So what operating framework do you prescribe to?
One is the EOS, Enterprise Operating System, and the OKRs, Objectives and Key Results. I have predominantly followed Objectives and Key Results in Element 5. And one of the book that I read on Measure What Matters by John Doerr, that has given a lot of insights to me on the OKR methodology. I have followed OKRs to an extent where it fits our kind of a company, and I have extended the OKRs to handle the annual appraisals also to my company. So there are books that gives us the framework, but it is in our hands to set the framework to what we need and what serves our purpose and the nature of our business. And so objectives and key results are something that we can easily set up for any startup, and that is the basic thing that without it you cannot really run a efficient company. So that is something that I would recommend. And in element 5 we always have a company level OKR, which is then broken down into executives OKRs, and that drills down into each of our teams. So my OKRs drills down into my team. I have two delivery managers and they have their OKRs, and that drills down into the team's OKR. So it's company's OKR, then the executives, then the teams, and then the team's OKR gets distributed into the team members' OKR. So if you take a task in element 5, any development task or even a QA task, that will be tied to some OKR or the other. This clearly will indicate if a person is working on something that is not prioritized as per the company's goal. If they are working on something that is not prioritized in company's goal, it has to be their individual development that they are working on, or they are doing an R&D for the company. So these are the only two exceptions. Otherwise, they have to course correct it. And this is where the middle management comes into effect, where they should be able to observe the team's work on a daily basis and make sure everybody is aligned to the company's OKR and keep track of the company's OKR, even though we have a cadence to review every quarterly on the KRs. But on a daily basis, the managers have to make sure that the team is working towards that. It's not easy to go at the review session and say, okay, we didn't do anything for the OKR for the whole quarter.
Got it. And it's very thoughtful, right? That you're thinking about objectives and key results and giving that pyramid of clarity to the entire organization. And I actually like the fact that you tied your OKRs to your executive OKRs to your middle management OKRs. Then that boils down all the way to the teams. Sometimes this is where teams and companies go wrong. That clarity of whether I'm contributing to the organization's goal sometimes misses in big enterprises. And you, as a startup, thinking about those is kind of eye-opening for me. I always thought, there are a lot of pet projects going on the side and nobody has a clue who's working on what.
That's true.
You know, and having that rigor and kind of tracking that from the get-go, I think sets the tone for the organization, but also builds on top of it.
Enterprises, unlike startups, they know things will go wrong. So it's not a secret, and everybody is aware that it's not going to be smooth. So the communication has to be clear and, if possible, ahead of time, so that there is no surprises. And enterprises also believe not only in what we have delivered, but if they have the trust that you will deliver whatever is required in the future. So they are signing up with you for a long term. For women, I would like to say that they have to believe in themselves. Sometimes they do look for praises or assurances. I don't think they need someone to praise them or assure them that they have done a good job. They need to believe in themselves, irrespective of others. Find an investor who is aligned with your. There are a lot of times new founders would try to take funds from the first person who gives them the fund. It may not be the best. It has to be a conscious decision, and make sure that the value of the investor and your value aligns. Otherwise, it is going to be tough, because you are going to have a journey for a few years with the same investor. So you need to align with your values. Gen AI and vertical agents are the top topics that is discussed in any technology forums, and I'm happy that Element 5 is in agentic AI platform for the post-acute healthcare automations, and hopefully we will ride this wave as well to grow. But Gen AI comes in the right place where automation alone won't work, because the automation is going to break when something changes in the back end or front end. But Gen AI is going to be resilient to address that break and still execute.